Share with you a Rashi that on the one hand seems not so relevant, but I think there's a tremendous level of relevance here. The pasuk in Shoftim in Perak Tes Zayin, the last pasuk, it says, "Lo sakim lecha matzeva asher sanei Hashem Elokech." The pasuk says, "You shall not establish for yourself a matzeva." What's a matzeva? A stone, that which is hated by Hashem, your God. So what is it talking about? You can't put up a matzeva. A matzeva for us, we know, is a tombstone. That's what a matzeva is. So you can't put up tombstones? So that's not what it's referring to. So Rashi tells us here, what does it mean to say not put up a matzeva? Rashi says it's referring to a matzeva that's used as a place to offer sacrifices, to offer karbanos. So an even achas lahakriv aleha. Even if you want to offer a stone, but you want to build a stone in order so that you can bring a karban, a sacrifice on that place, for the sake of Shemayim, just for Hashem, you still can't do it. So why? So the previous verse tells us about planting an Asherah tree, a tree that's used for idol worship. You can't put that near a Mizbeach, any altar. Here it tells you that you can't actually put a stone in order to bring any offerings on it, even if you did everything l'shem Shemayim. Why is this? So Rashi says over here, Asher Sanei. Well, it says, it tells you the different type of Mizbeach. Mizbeach Avanim. He says the reason why is Kichok Haisela Canaanim, because this was a law for the Canaanite nations that you have to offer animals on a stone altar. Even though our forefathers actually built matzevos themselves. Yaakov built a matzeva, he built this stone altar, he did this himself. Even though they did it, but now, since the Canaanim do it, we can't do it. So wait a minute, who came first over here? We started this, and now you're telling me that we have to stop our practices? So if other non-Jewish nations will start putting on tefillin, that's it, we can't put on tefillin over here? What's the story over here? Doesn't it go with who came first? They're just copying our ideas. So Rashi says, Ki chok haisel Canaanim. This was a chok, this is a law that was established by the Canaanite nations. Even though the forefathers did it beforehand, now that they made it into a law for them, Hashem no longer wants it. It is no longer interested in us actually performing this. So what we would call chukas hagayim, what we would call the ways of the other nations, Hashem wants us to be totally distant from the ways of the other nations if that is something that they do. Even though it's something that we may have done beforehand, but once they made this part of their culture, so the Sifsei Chacham points out, wait a minute, does that mean a Mizbeach would have been prohibited also because they allowed those as well? So I'll present this for those of you that are familiar with the trees. For those of you that would not plant trees, for those of you that would have trees, right, during different times of the year as a symbol of whatever it may be in your homes, so perhaps this Rashi is related to this. The tree itself has become a symbol, in Christianity at least, as something that's used entirely for their holidays. So even if we were to not use it for a holiday or any type of worship, still according to this Rashi it seems, once it became a chok, that this is a law for them, then it automatically becomes prohibited. The Sifsei Chacham does point out, what happened to the idea? We have a Mizbeach, we have altars that we offer sacrifice on. So he says, the nuance is over here, that once it's a chok, which means it becomes an established law that everyone must do this, and that means it's a part of their culture. Once it's a part of their culture, then Hashem says, I don't want that. I want your culture to be totally separate from their culture. Now, this may not apply to most of us in our lives, but it's just the interesting question over here is, you have something that we did as a minhag, that we have as a tradition that we do, and then another nation goes ahead and takes it as a chok, as something that's demanded of them that you must do it this way. Therefore, that becomes something sonny, that becomes something hated. But that's not fair. We did it first. But the point is, we have to be distinct over here. I'm not sure if it applies to other categorical mitzvahs that we may have, but this is something to think about over here, that even though you may have had it first, once other nations establish this as part of their religious observance, Hashem says, you know what, I don't know if this is the right way for us to go over here. So in this particular case, it's talking about a stone altar, as opposed to any other altar. But this Hashem does not want it becomes soneh, becomes hated by Hashem, once idol-worshipping nations are actually using these things. Rabbi Nachi Klein,